Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to talk about grid template. So I have reduced the number of sections to 5. We have header, main, sidebar, section 1, and then footer. The grid template property is actually shorthand property for grid template columns, grid template rows, and grid template areas. If you want to use all three of them at the same time, this is how you would want to do it. So grid template, first let's select the container. I'm going to say display grid. This time I'm not going to specify a height for it. We are going to say grid, where is grid template? Grid template, there we go. So first, the way that you can specify grid template areas, columns, and rows at the same time is that, let's go ahead and let's actually do it. So I'm going to say row. I'm gonna be naming rows so you know which are rows and which are columns. So first is I'm gonna say row -1 start. So this is the start of the first row. And then I'm gonna open up quotes. Within the quotes, we are going to provide keywords. The number of keywords that we provide is going to specify or determine the number of columns that we're gonna end up with. So I'm going to say header. So 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we are going to end up with 5 headers. Now, this row, it could have a height or it could not have a height. But I'm going to give it a height so we can really see, really visualize it. If I don't give it a height, then I have to come up with some kind of height for my container because I don't have any content. You might be asking, okay, you're telling me not to specify the height for my row, but it's not showing in the grid. That's because your rows are empty. And when your rows, they have title, they have text, they have paragraphs, they have images, then they're filled. Then you don't need to provide height for your container or fixed heights for your rows. This is just for teaching purposes so you understand how rows work. I can't waste time on every lecture to create dummy content. This is just a way that I can speed up these lectures. They're already 15 minutes, 17 minutes length, which is a lot for this type of content for YouTube. But the reason that these are getting lengthy is because I try to explain a lot of things and I try to make sure that you understand everything to the fullest. So this is our first row. This is going to be row number 2. For row number 2, these 3 headers, they're going to be the main, and main. These 2 headers, they're going to become sidebar. And the width of this is going to be 250. Let's grab both of the ones. Let's set them to 2. Perfect. Let's move on to the next row. This is going to be row number 3 and row 3 end. The width is going to be the same. I'm going to have an empty column on this side. Therefore, I'm just going to provide a period and another one on that side. And in here, I'm just going to provide section 1. So section -1, section -1, and section -1. There we go. And this is going to be our final row. And the final row, we are only going to have 4 rows, but 5 columns. So this is row end 4. And let's grab everything. Oops. So there are 2 actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these. I'm going to say footer, 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 and finally this one is going to be footer as well. Let's remove the empty columns because they're going to create extra columns. There we go. So these are the number of columns. This is the height of the rows. What about the dimensions for the columns? So the first column, I want it to be 1 FR. Keep in mind we have 5 columns, so you need to provide 5 keywords. The second one, 2 FR, then 3 FR, then back to 1 FR, and then again 1 FR. Let's save that. For readability purposes, I'm just going to provide it on the line below. There we go. Now, the only thing that we need to do is assign these areas to their specific grid items. So item 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, they have been assigned to their specific grid items. So now if I just close this, now you can see we have head, main, sidebar, section 1, and then we have footer. Now, we have not talked about gap yet. We are going to talk about it in our upcoming lectures. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to provide some gap for the sake of readability purposes. So I'm going to say gap, I'm going to say 10 pixels. Let's just save that. And if we come here, now you can see there is some gap there. Header, main, sidebar, section 1, and then footer. With this, our lecture comes to an end. See you in the next one.